All right, Lou. Time for a fresh start. How many points are up for grab this weekend?
We don't have a pay-per-view. We're not doing any points.
Wait a minute. Then what the heck are we doing a segment for? Seriously, what the?
Welcome to TFS Pod, otherwise known as the Show Podcast. It's 24/7. Lou, and that's
Rick Hard, wondering what's going on.
And that's
the one-man band. I don't need points to be relevant.
oh. We have folks. Welcome to TFS Pod, number one show in the world, number one show in your heart, number one show with 93 golds, 0 silvers, 0 bronze. We're winning everything. Yes. Welcome to TFS Pod, number one show in your heart. This episode is going to be a little bit different. Ricard, since you came up with this one, you were yelling all at the pre-show meeting about how we should do this segment. What's this segment about?
So all right. So as much as I was playing into it, I actually did want to request this segment. I wanted to talk about where the state of professional wrestling was right now, because it's been really crazy. We've been talking a lot about pay-per-views and events, but there's a lot of stuff in the works for what could potentially be a really crazy final third of 2021.
Yeah, it's true, because WWE's dead.
Hey, no, I wouldn't go that far.
AEW's gonna get you. AEW's gonna get you.
So WWE's making some really weird moves, and I imagine that's what you're referring to, Lou. So I guess we could talk about that first before we talk about the AEW stuff, which is admittedly more interesting because there's more stuff that's on the horizon there.
Yes, bad news first, then good news.
I guess that's one way to put it out.
I'm joking.
But essentially, WWE's been doing a lot of releases lately. Mm-hmm. A lot of releases, and they've been failing to sign or retain, in some cases, big names. Now, as we all know, since the pandemic, last year you had a bunch of people get released. In April, around the same time they do their spring cleaning. Mm-hmm. We're not really talking about that as much because back then it was names that were, to some degree, it was kind of shocking. But now some of these names have kind of caught us off guard. Mm-hmm. And I think one we could really start off with, I don't want to do it in any particular order, but there's Samoa Joe comes to mind, even though he recently got re-signed. Onto NXT. You had Andrade.
Yep.
Got released. And let's be fair, Andrade didn't get as much of a push in WWE as he could have.
Push? They cut his name in half.
I think it's more than half that they got rid of, but you're right, Lou. They did. They gave him the first name only treatment.
Yeah.
There was Andrade, and then a big name that came out afterwards was Braun Strowman. Strowman got released.
Aleister Black.
Aleister Black also getting released. More on him a little later. Mm-hmm. His was surprising in the sense of creative was clearly just starting the Dark Father gimmick with him, and he was doing those reading of child books or telling stories at the armchair thing, reading from a book about his dad. But that was another name that they got rid of. Speaking of other names they got rid of, which they faced some backlash for at a recent live events, was Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Who fans actually chanted, "We want Wyatt."
Yeah.
During a Bobby Lashley Goldberg stare down on Raw this past week. So a lot of people are really upset about that. It's unfortunate because I have heard Bray Wyatt is dealing with depression. That's supposedly the story going on in the rumor mill. And other names, Breezango comes to mind, Lana, Ruby Riott, Buddy Murphy.
Iconics.
Buddy Murphy. The Iconics, that one still gets me boiling.
Mm-hmm.
Ruby Riott.
Yeah. Yep, Ruby Riott. Killian Dane, and one of the most recent ones, which is not as crazy, but could be seeing some a return somewhere else on another show, is Ric Flair.
Oh yeah,
who recently got released.
He had 5 good more matches in him.
And the reason why his release strikes me as odd is specifically because John Cena is currently slated to fight Roman Reigns for the Universal title at SummerSlam this month. And whenever Cena is in any championship match, there is an easy segment in mind before or in the run-up or even after the run-up for John Cena breaking Flair's record of 16 world title wins. That WWE kind of just shot themselves in the foot on. And I also heard supposedly he had a really big issue with the Lacey Evans storyline.
Oh, really?
From earlier this year. So that's a little surprising. But I have my speculation on why WWE is doing it. But I was wondering what you guys thought about all these releases and what you think. Well, I know, Lou, you kind of alluded to what you were thinking, but go ahead. Recap what you were thinking.
What about what? Why they're doing it, or what?
Yeah, why they're releasing all these people or all these big names. You were like, "Oh, WWE's dead, right?"
Yeah. Well, the competition's gonna get very tight now. With we'll mention it later. I'll mention it now too. AEW Rampage is gonna be on Friday nights, so it's gonna get. I guess they have too many people, and I guess to make a tighter show or something. I guess.
It's an interesting theory. All right. Well, before my man gives his thoughts, also, it's being speculated Adam Cole his contract is set to expire sometime soon.
I had heard it already expired. But...
Oof. If it did, that's something else that could potentially see another big name surface somewhere else. But Drew, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think one of you guys alluded to something about WWE baiting AEW to sign all these guys.
Yep, that was me.
Yeah, it was, and that it was, you kind of alluded to that. It makes sense actually. Like all of a sudden, it was, you guys saying, oh, that this is a way of WWE like getting back at AEW. Like, okay, cool, we'll release these guys and have them sign elsewhere, and then have them sink the ship in AEW. The Ric Flair story, I heard about Ric Flair, like you said, wasn't agreeing with certain things, and that they kind of gave him an ultimatum. Either like, hey, either you resign or you're fired. So,
I think he said, whether he's playing politics to it or not, I think he did say like it was, he did it on good terms. So I don't know how much of it is true or not. I can't say that. But it wouldn't be the first time Flair's gone to the competition. So.
Oh yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Ooh. But I mean, what? I've heard. Okay, so I've heard. I know we did a segment a while ago about where would so and so end up, and we had mentioned certain people, like I think we said Aleister Black and AEW was kind of a given.
Mm-hmm.
I had said Ruby Riott to Shakara, but they're saying now that she's AEW, probably AEW now.
Oh wow.
And I forgot that they were gonna call her Ruby something. I can't remember the name, but I'm not gonna say another female name because every time I say it, it sounds like a porn name. So I'll just let him know.
We're on to your tricks. We're on to your tricks. One man band.
We saved that for the after hours.
We saved that for the well, I mean, yeah. So I would say basically, it has legs as to why WWE let all these people. I heard that they were considering bringing Braun Strowman back.
Yeah, I heard that too.
So I don't know if that would happen, but I would say he would probably be the most viable. Because honestly, I remember saying that he would be like a perfect NJPW project, like basically like the monster Gaijin in NJPW. But obviously with everything that's going on now and the possible shutdown again, from what I've been hearing, that would kind of shoot him down on that. So I don't know. I mean, of the people that have been released that we've talked about, Andrade has appeared on AEW. He's flanked by Chavo Guerrero, Vicky Guerrero. So we've got that going. Aleister Black, now Malachi Black, has shown up on Dynamite as basically a top upper mid card guy. I would say upper card, going right after Cody. Samoa Joe got re-signed, like we talked about. So that leaves Ruby Riott still hasn't been signed yet. Braun Strowman hasn't been signed yet. Bray Wyatt, we don't know the status of him, if he had a no compete clause or not. Ric Flair, obviously, with him being, I think him being not under a wrestling, like a performer's contract, might have a different no compete clause. So it's hard to say. I mean, it's a very interesting time that's going on right now. Very interesting as far as, WWE basically shedding payroll, nonstop, letting go of all these people, but yet keeping people that don't make sense at the same time. You're kind of like, okay, why are you guys doing this?
Yeah, or they're not using them properly. It's like, come on.
Right. Not using, like we talked about, Aleister Black not being used properly, Andrade not being used properly. I know people said with Andrade that the reason was because of the command of the English language was not great. But obviously, let's look at it like this. We have, I'm going into another territory, but we have a guy in Major League Baseball right now who is the face of Major League Baseball right now, Shohei Ohtani. And he barely speaks English. He has an interpreter talking for him. I don't see why you couldn't have that same interpretation for Andrade, have him be an awesome heel, and have somebody translate for him, a la somebody like Vicky Guerrero, a la how he had with Zelina Vega. I don't see what was the problem. But I don't know. I guess they just didn't see it in him. But it's a shame. It's a shame because I think he was a great performer. But we'll see. We'll see where some of these people end up. I actually here's this. I just actually got something here on YouTube about Pete Dunne, saying Pete Dunne. Let me see. What does this say? This is interesting. It has an AEW backdrop behind it. Obviously, I don't know if that's true or not, but let's see. It says Pete Dunne leaving WWE for AEW at New Japan Pro Wrestling with a question mark and an exclamation point. That would
click on that. Click on it. Read it.
I'm not. No, because it's a video.
Oh,
it's a video. It's a video. We can't cross promote like that.
Yeah,
this ain't Control C Control V news, Lou.
Oh. Shout out to Destination Pro Wrestling. That's the where it came from. But yeah, I mean, there you go. And now it just seems like all these floodgates are opening up because, as me and Rick Hart alluded to when we were at the event that we went to, Magic City Wrestling Federation. Shout out to them. we were alluding to possibly hearing about shutdowns in certain states by the middle of this month. So that would be even more of a crunch and a situation to deal with. You know, hearing about WWE possibly having to go back to the Performance Center, having to do the Thunderdome again, right when we thought that was done. So that would probably open up the door to possibly, losing more people. A lot of people from WWE have said that when Bray Wyatt got released, that nobody felt safe anymore.
Ooh.
Because Bray Wyatt was, we got to remember, Bray Wyatt was a huge mover of merchandise. Huge. I mean, for Christ's sake, they made a belt. They made a belt in his likeness of the Fiend. Yeah, granted, it was $7,000. But still, they made it. So, like I said, he pushed merchandise. So for him to get released goes to show you that there's no guarantee anymore with everything that's going on around us. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, you kind of alluded to stuff I wanted to bring up with, but
go for it, Ricardo. Go ahead. You got it.
So here's how I would suggest WWE is approaching the situation. Because as much as we want to tell ourselves, pandemic's on the decline, it looks like it's all over. There's a lot of talk about the Delta variant. Certain places are already talking about possible lockdowns if things keep going again. Live events could be in jeopardy. Vegas, which is where SummerSlam is being held, might see some cutting back on crowds and live attendance and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's a real possibility. AEW is within, I think it's third year now, I want to say. Started in 2020.
Early 2019. Well, I guess you could say if you wanna count their beginnings, like true beginnings, was All Out 2018, September 2018. I guess you could say that was their origins. So yeah, give or take.
Give or take 3 years. It's a new company.
Yeah.
And I know you got the cons there who they've got a lot of capital behind them, which is why it really is possible for them to really bring the competition to WWE in terms of signing all the people that have been released. But at the end of the day, they still got to turn a profit.
Right.
And AEW is doing a lot of major signings from people being released by WWE, along with signing free agents that we haven't seen in wrestling for a really long time.
Right.
We all know who I'm referring to on that one. And they've got a show coming up in Chicago, which we got to see. We got to see where it goes. You mentioned All Out. It's coming. It's coming in September 5th, if I'm not mistaken.
And speaking of that, thank you for refreshing my memory on that. Yes, this person didn't get released, but this person, WWE let him walk, and the network is very upset at the fact that they let Daniel Bryan walk, or Bryan Danielson. The network is, the USA Network and Fox and them are very upset at WWE for letting him walk. And apparently he signed with AEW now. Mm-hmm. So, this is not confirmed, but all indications are that he signed. And he sounds like he's going to make an appearance at All In. And then the other one, of course, that we've been talking about, the Mr. Chick Magnet Punk, Charles McNamara Punk, whatever you want to say. I don't know, like
Congressman Punk.
Congressman Punk. I like that. Cheese and macaroni Punk. It's some, but him. Darby Allin alluded to to a promo a few weeks ago saying, "Oh, we're gonna see who is the best in the world." And I see what you did there. You know,
of course, got to keep those references alive, get everybody intrigued.
Exactly.
So Rickard, so what do you think what's going on? Like, what do you really think is going on?
All right. So I'm looking right now at WWE's stock performance. They just bounced back because they were on a downward decline. They're back in the mid 50s right now. They just passed the $50 mark. For a really long time, they were actually doing a lot better stock wise during the pandemic than they are now. And that's because they showed investors that they could keep income streams alive without live gate attendance, ticket sales, and stuff like that.
Yeah, TV contracts.
With the merch, the TV contracts, selling the network to Peacock for licensing rights. So WWE's focusing on the money aspect more so than the talent, which in the long term you might see a negative repercussions there. Right. It's not looking good for them there, but in terms of cutting costs, that seems to be the motivation there. Most market indicators say they're bullish on it. They're showing a bullish indicator on the price movement. Now, stock prices and everything. Really, what we have to look at is because it's August is make or break. Will SummerSlam be a live attendance thing? Will they be able to draw in the crowd that they want? Will it be as big an event? Keep in mind, SummerSlam is happening for the first time on Saturday since its first ever debut as a show, and it's being aired in movie theaters around the country. Yeah, that's a first time.
Pretty big.
And NXT is going to be the Sunday show.
Now, where's SummerSlam going to be held at?
Las Vegas.
Okay, so that plays a big part because not to put politics into this, guys. You know how I feel, but Nevada, if I remember correctly.
No, it's right. It's right now. It's right on the border of California, and California has a high case count. So
exactly,
it's a potential. It's a potential
that they would be one of the first to lock down if that were to happen. So that right there is a big, like if it were happening in Florida, let's say in Texas, they probably wouldn't have that fear and doubt. But that's all. That's something else.
That's something else.
So,
but the real question now becomes AEW. You're making good purchases, good plays. If CM Punk debuts,
right.
Wherever it is, especially in Chicago, when you need to have a live audience there. You can't have Punk return, not to take shots at what's it called? The show that they did. Fox did that show where Punk came back to nobody.
Backstage, WWE backstage.
Yeah, WWE backstage. You can't have him return without a crowd. It's like, come on, what was that?
Yeah. So here's my question. Here's my question to both. If AEW pulls off Bryan Danielson and CM Punk on All In or All Out, it's All In, right? I can't remember.
I believe it's All In.
Okay, so let's just for argument's sake say it's All In. If they literally go all in and get Bryan Danielson and CM Punk, does that make them the viable option? Does that put them over the top? Or do they still need to do more with that?
I mean, at the end of the day, booking is what is going to play a factor. And I know we tell this joke a lot, but if you have them debut at the show, get a big pop, this and that, and then feud with Cody Rhodes at the next pay-per-view and lose, that's just bad booking. But it all comes down to the booking. Now, remember, the more people they sign, the more money that costs on the personnel end. At some point, they gotta re-sign some of the people they have on the contract. Some of those people might be thinking about jumping ship.
I think some of them are their contracts are coming up soon, if I'm not mistaken.
They are, yeah. It's been a few years.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Chris Jericho might be up pretty soon.
And I'm not saying all of them will jump. And WWE has been very particular with the people they release. I don't wanna throw shade at the people who have been released, but they're not exactly the ideal performers Vince McMahon has in mind. And I say this with no disrespect, but look at the people Vince has had as his WWE champion, or in particular the WWE champion, marquee champions. It's Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, even The Miz you can make an argument for. Before that it was Brock Lesnar. Right. They've all got a certain physique. They can pull off the look of an athlete. You don't have that with The Fiend. You don't have that with Braun Strowman. And they're not young people either. Bray Wyatt, if rumors are true, he's dealing with some depression. And Braun Strowman is a powerhouse, but how many years he's got left in him, that's a different story. Ric Flair definitely doesn't have a lot of years left to him. Sting, his matches require a lot of protection. He can't exactly have a singles match nowadays. I don't see Big Show doing any wrestling. It all has to do with what kind of moves or where they're shedding the people. Daniel Bryan, he's got medical history with concussions and stuff like that.
Yep.
Right. All of that's the mind. And with CM Punk, I believe they quoted Vince as saying something along the lines of, everybody talks about how we didn't sign a big name. Nobody understands the backstage of it and how difficult he can be to work with.
Yeah, he has a magnet problem.
People change. People change in years. Getting married has a habit of getting people to settle down.
Yeah, time heals all wounds, and I think the burnout that he felt in WWE, I think would be alleviated quite a bit with being in AEW because it's an easier touring schedule. There's not a lot of dates compared to WWE. Majority of the people, or rather, he wouldn't be dealing with the same bosses anymore. He'll see some familiar faces. But my question is this also: if CM Punk were to show up at All In, do you slot him into the main event picture right away, or is he just going to be like an attraction of sorts? So,
main event picture, 100%. To put him in a match with someone lower on the card, and I don't mean to say that in a mean sense, but to put him on the card with someone not in the world championship spot is it makes light of the pop he's gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It makes light of the pop. Kenny Omega, the belt collector. When you have so many titles, you can easily lay claim to the title best in the world. That's an easy feud right there. You think you're the best in the world because you got a bunch of championships? Let me tell you something. I'm the longest reigning champion of the modern era, 434 days.
Yeah.
And then you could say, absolutely. But that's in the other league. Those are the minor leagues now, in case you didn't know. I don't know. There's so much they could do. Just get the ball rolling. Don't play around. Don't play around. Don't have them come out to fight with nothing against Darby Allin, nothing against Orange Cassidy, nothing against any of those guys. Don't have them fight Cody Rhodes. Come on. Go straight. I keep going back to that, but Cody, when you were like teasing retiring, you made it about yourself. Aleister Black beat you in under 5 minutes, and somehow it ended up being about, is Cody Rhodes going to retire? No.
So
CM Punk, Kenny Omega, best in the world versus, quote, best in the world. Wrestling's new god. I don't know. What is it Don Callis says about Kenny Omega? He's better than God.
Yeah, he's better than God or something. He's been inducted into the Wrestling Hall of Fame before he was 40, and he's still active. So, it's impressive. But I look at it like this. All right, it's an interesting situation because if you bring CM Punk into the picture, the sad thing is like the one person that would get affected with this in a negative sense would be Hangman. Hangman Adam Page would absolutely get crushed by this because I mean, nothing against Hangman Page. I've seen him perform. You know, I've actually seen him in an indie show when he was in Ring of Honor. Great, great energy, great work ethic. But when you have him or you have the chance to bring CM Punk in, it's kind of a hard argument to go against. And I think Hangman has shown that he's a chaser, but I feel like he's the perfect example of someone that if he gets the title, people are not really going to back him as much. No, he'll be like he's in the perfect chaser role, but the moment he gets the belt, forget it. It's kind of like it's a moot point. And who that description reminds me of? Who's that?
Who would be perfect to fight Hangman Page? Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after CM Punk gets in the title picture, when Daniel Bryan comes out, maybe not at All In, but maybe the next Dynamite, Daniel Bryan comes out to address the fans and why he came to AEW, this and that, and before he even says anything, Hangman Page just attacks him and says, "I'm tired of you guys coming here and taking our spots." It's a simple rivalry.
And
I mean, I'm no booking genius, but I'm just gotta say the pay-per-views were significantly better when my predictions were coming true last year. Yeah, there you go. One man fan just agreed with me, Lou.
Yeah. All right. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. But yeah, I mean, you make a good argument. I'll
and who could forget? AEW. Everybody, the one knock that they always say is their women division's lacking. We still got Tessa Blanchard, the real TBA, set to arrive.
And I'm glad you brought that up also because there's been rumors also they're saying that Ruby Riott is linked to AEW. I said, I don't know.
Iconic debuts as well.
Be. So
the question is, can they afford everybody and retain the people they have?
Can they afford it and can they retain? Because there is such a thing as overinflation. Even WWE suffered from it. You guys know this very well. A couple years ago, back maybe 2015, 2016, when they were signing everybody just for the sake of signing people.
Yep.
They were signing people and putting them on the sidelines just because they were able to sign them and be like, hey, I don't actually want to do anything with you, but I just wanted to sign you so that you wouldn't go anywhere else.
Hell, that's specifically why Jim Ross ended up joining AEW. Because he was like, call me crazy. I didn't like getting a paycheck and just being at home. You know?
I mean, there's people that are like that. I mean, listen, Lanny Poffo, Macho Man Randy Savage's brother, the late Macho Man, rest in peace. He said, particularly when Macho Man Randy Savage jumped ship to WCW in 1994, his only request was that they give a contract to his brother. So his brother literally was on WCW's payroll for 5 years.
Wow.
Making, I believe, $250,000 a year. Huh. And he was sitting at home. They never used him. And, you know, you think about that. You're like, wow, $250,000 a year to sit at home.
$250,000.
$250,000 in 5 years. So that means that he made
1.25 million.
So let's just say for taxes' sake.
In the 90s, because nowadays that doesn't mean as much.
Oh, shit. 1.25 million to me would still mean a lot to me in the
yeah, even now that would mean a lot. But even back then, before the inflation we have now,
1.25 million in the 90s was money. Like, it's money now, but back then it was money. Like you could live very comfortably with that. So let's say for taxes' sake, let's say his home state's Florida, and he's bringing home, I would say.
He's keeping about 75% of that.
So let's say $800,000. Let's say he made $800,000 after taxes to stay at home. And yeah, some people, like I said, some people don't like that. Some people want to work for their money, and I understand that, you know. And you said JR left to go to AEW for that reason. You know, there were people that were pretty much sitting around. I mean, I wouldn't say the Revival was sitting around, but the Revival wasn't doing anything worth a damn. And WWE was getting ready to sign them for double their money. It was going to give them double salary to dress up like idiots, and they declined. In hindsight, it was probably the best thing they did because they probably would have been released now.
Yep.
You know, so you know, it's like I said, it's a crapshoot. And right now,
and this is the point I want to make. This is the point I want to make. There's a saying that pressure makes coal turn into diamond. You know,
correct.
If AEW signs all these people and really starts putting the pressure on WWE, because you know, Lou brought it up, Rampage going up on Friday nights. It could be going up head to head against SmackDown.
Yep.
Dynamite could see at some point a head to head with. There could be a time in the near future we could see Dynamite go head to head against Monday Night Raw. That's not out of the cards. You know, they're going to be going up against the A Show, as I like to call it. Lou might disagree, but that's how it goes.
That's so wrong.
And I want to bring up, because I do feel like this is an indication of where things might be going. TakeOver going after SummerSlam on a Sunday, as well as the fact that I recently saw some of NXT's storylines. With Samoa Joe versus Karrion Kross, Dexter Lumis, Indy Hartwell, and Johnny Gargano in the way, all that stuff. I was sleeping on NXT a bit, but they're stepping up their game. I think maybe because Vince said, "Oh, I don't see them as competition." I don't think Triple H's mind is saying, "Yeah, I don't see AEW as competition." Whether he's trying to downplay AEW or not, I think Triple H knows there's a war coming. And you know, people forget DX fired the first shot in the Monday Night Wars with their little tank stunt. But Triple H knows what it's like to be on the front lines. He knows what it's like to be in a company that doesn't treat its stars right and books them terribly. Let's not forget Terra Rising. So I think Triple H is doing damage control right now, and there might be let's not underestimate WWE on being able to rise up to the occasion when the creative requires it. As I call it, they know how to go on autopilot or go on vacation in December. But I think the pandemic had them go on vacation for a bit, so we'll see.
All right, so there you are. You see, there you are with our state of current events in wrestling. Wow, it's going to be interesting next few months to wrap up the year.
Yeah.
See what happens in wrestling and the sport in the entertainment that we like to watch.
Yeah, but all that we said pales in comparison to what I'm about to say right now to end the show, and that is that this is going to be the greatest thing to ever happen in professional wrestling when you hear this happen.